If you're here right now, at this exact moment, it's because your grandfather just whispered your name from the other side. I know that sounds impossible. But stay with me for the next 30 seconds, because what I'm about to reveal will explain every unexplainable feeling you've carried your entire life. You, the chosen one watching this, you've felt it, haven't you? That weight. That knowing that you're supposed to complete something, but no one ever told you what. You've been walking through life feeling like you're supposed to remember something crucial, but the memory sits just out of reach. It's kept you up at night, made you question if you're going crazy. You're not crazy. You're chosen to finish what he couldn't. And by the end of this message, you'll know exactly what your grandfather left in your bloodline, the gift he protected, the mission he encoded into your DNA, and the 3 specific signs that prove you're the one meant to activate it. But first, if this is resonating at a soul level, if you feel that confirmation rising in your chest right now, type 999 in the comments. That's your sacred yes. Your agreement with heaven that you're ready to receive what's been waiting for you. And subscribe to this channel, not for me, but because the messages coming through for the chosen ones aren't finished. What you're about to discover is only the beginning of your activation. This is divinely timed. You were meant to find this today. Now, let me show you what your grandfather has been trying to tell you, the inheritance no one told you about. So let's start with something that happened to me 3 years ago. Something I couldn't explain then, but now makes perfect sense. It was a Tuesday afternoon, 2 o'clock to be exact. I was walking past a thrift store in my neighborhood, a place I'd driven by 100 times but never went inside. But that day, something pulled me in. And there, in the back corner, under terrible fluorescent lighting, was a leather chair. Brown, worn at the arms, with that specific smell of old leather and pipe tobacco. The kind of smell that hits you like a memory you can't quite place. I sat down in it. And here's the strange part. My hands started shaking. Not from fear, from something else. Something I didn't have words for. I sat there for 20 minutes, just sitting, feeling like I was supposed to be there. Like I was keeping an appointment I'd forgotten I made. When I finally got up to leave, my grandmother called, out of the blue. We hadn't spoken in months. She said, "I was just thinking about your grandfather. It would have been his birthday today." I didn't know that. I barely remembered him. I'd only met him twice before he passed when I was 7. So I told her about the chair, described it, the smell, the way it felt. She went quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "He had a chair exactly like that. Sat in it every single day at 2 o'clock. Called it his thinking time, his sacred hour." Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not someone who jumps to mystical conclusions. I have a background in psychology. I was trained to look for rational explanations first. Coincidence? I told myself. Just coincidence. But the feeling I had in that chair, that overwhelming sense that I was late for something, that I'd missed an appointment I was supposed to keep decades ago, that feeling wouldn't leave. So I did what any skeptic would do. I started researching. And what I found changed everything I thought I knew about inheritance. See, we've been taught that when someone dies, we inherit their money, their house, maybe some jewelry, the physical stuff. But nobody tells you about the other inheritance, the invisible one, the one that's been encoded in your bloodline, waiting for the exact right moment to activate. Let me show you what I mean. During World War II, there was a winter in Holland, 1944, when the Nazis cut off all food supplies. Pregnant women were starving. eating tulip bulbs just to survive. Those women gave birth. Their children grew up, had children of their own. 60 years later, scientists at Columbia University studied those grandchildren. People who'd never experienced famine themselves, who grew up with plenty of food. And here's what they discovered. Those grandchildren had completely different metabolisms than everyone else. Their bodies were still responding to a famine that happened 2 generations before they were born. The survival patterns, the memories, had transferred through DNA, but it gets deeper. In 2015, researchers at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York studied Holocaust survivors and their children, 32 families. They measured something called cortisol, your body's stress hormone, and they found that the children of Holocaust survivors, people born in America who never experienced the camps, who grew up in safety, had altered stress hormone levels. Their parents' trauma had literally changed their biology. Dr. Rachel Yehuda, who led the study, said something that stopped me cold. Trauma doesn't die with the person who experienced it. Neither does resilience. Let that sink in for a moment. Your grandmother's fear during the Depression? It's in your cells. Your grandfather's courage in war? That's encoded in you too. This isn't mysticism. This is biology. But here's where it goes beyond just science. There was a psychologist named Carl Jung who spent his entire career studying what he called the collective unconscious. He documented over 10,000 cases of people who knew things they couldn't possibly know. Children describing places they'd never been. Adults speaking languages nobody taught them. People having dreams that belonged to other lifetimes. And in 2019, Northwestern University proved that memories can transfer through genetic material alone. Not just trauma, not just survival patterns, skills, knowledge, purpose. So when you feel drawn to things you can't explain, that's not random. That's your inheritance activating. Now here's what every other video about this topic won't tell you. They'll say, trust your intuition, and leave you hanging. That's garbage advice. Because not everything you feel is real inheritance. Some of it is fear. Some of it is trauma. Some of it is you running away from your real life. So I'm going to give you 4 specific signs of true inheritance, and more importantly, how to tell the real from the false. The first sign is skills that nobody taught you. Let me tell you about Michael. He's 42, an accountant from Ohio. Numbers guy his whole life. But at age 40, he couldn't stop watching carpentry videos on YouTube. Not as a hobby. It was like an itch he couldn't scratch. His hands felt wrong when he wasn't working with wood. His wife thought he was having a midlife crisis. Then his daughter found his great-grandfather's journal in the attic. The man was a master furniture maker, built custom pieces for wealthy families in Cleveland. Died at 39, never got to pass on his craft. Michael had never seen a photo of him, didn't know his story. But somehow, the skill was waiting in his hands. Here's the test, though, and this is critical. Does it feel like relief? Or does it feel like obsession? Relief means it's real inheritance. Your body recognizing something it's been carrying. Obsession means you're using it to avoid something in your current life. Michael said, when he built his first table, he felt calm for the first time in years. That's relief. That's real. The second sign is places that call to you. Sarah was 38, lived in California her whole life, never traveled much, but she saved up for years to visit Ireland. And when she got to this specific ruin, an old stone cottage in County Cork, she broke down sobbing. She told me, I wasn't sad. I was home, like I'd finally made it back to somewhere I'd been searching for my whole life. Her ancestry test later confirmed it. Her family lived in that exact region for 200 years before immigrating. But here's the counterexample, and you need to hear this. John felt the same pull to Germany, spent all his money traveling there, felt this overwhelming emotion. Turns out, he wasn't connecting to ancestry. He was running away from his divorce. The difference? Real inheritance feels like coming home. False signals feel like running away from something. Sarah's life got clearer after Ireland. She understood herself better. John's life got messier. He was using spiritual connection to avoid dealing with real problems. Ask yourself, does this place make me more myself? Or am I using it to escape who I am? The third sign is dreams that feel ancient. Dr. Deirdre Barrett at Harvard has spent 30 years studying dreams. She says some dreams are inherited memories. They have specific markers, sepia tones, like old photographs, clothing from different eras, emotions that are too big for anything in your actual life. Linda was 56, a nurse in Texas. For years, she had the same recurring dream, a blue house with a specific wraparound porch, white railings, a swing that creaked in a particular way. She could smell the honeysuckle, feel the wood grain under her hand. One day, she mentioned it to her elderly aunt. Her aunt went pale, pulled out a photo album. There it was, her great-grandmother's house, the exact blue, the exact porch. Linda had never seen a picture of it. The house burned down in 1950, but her body remembered it. If you're having dreams like this, dreams that feel like memories, pay attention. That's your lineage speaking. The fourth sign is the most important. You'll feel like you're finishing something someone else started, not starting fresh. Completing. David was 61, a retired police officer from Michigan. Good man, good father, but he always felt incomplete. When he retired, he started having vivid dreams. Always the same, sitting at a desk, writing by hand, stacks of paper everywhere. He'd wake up with his hand cramping like he'd been writing all night. So he started journaling, just to process the dreams. But the journaling turned into something else. Stories poured out, characters, entire worlds. Within 6 months, he'd written a complete novel. His daughter found his grandfather's unpublished manuscript in the attic, written in 1943. David had never seen it. The titles were almost identical. David's, The Last Station. His grandfather's, The Final Stop. Same themes, same story trying to get told. 80 years apart. David told me, I finally understand why I felt incomplete my whole life. I wasn't just living my life, I was completing his. That's the feeling, not obligation, completion. But here's what every spiritual guru leaves out, and this might save you years of pain. Not everything you inherit is a gift. 20% of what comes through your bloodline is trauma, addiction, violence, fear. Your grandfather's alcoholism, that's inheritance too. And if you don't learn to tell the difference, you'll repeat the worst parts of your lineage thinking you're honoring it. Here's the filter question. Does this pattern make me more myself or less? Does it expand my life or does it shrink it? Real inheritance makes you bigger. Trauma inheritance makes you smaller. If you find yourself becoming obsessed, isolated, or losing your sense of self, stop. That's not inheritance. That's unprocessed pain. And that's when you need a therapist, not a genealogy website. Here's what you need to understand. You are not just you. You're the continuation of a conversation that started generations ago. Every time you feel drawn to something you can't explain, every time you have a skill nobody taught you, every time you dream in ways that feel ancient, that's your inheritance speaking. Your grandfather didn't fail at his dreams. He encoded them into your DNA so that you, the right person, at the right time, with the right tools, could finish what he started. But you have to be wise enough to know what to complete and what to release. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is beautiful. But what do I actually do with this information? Because understanding that you have an inheritance is one thing. Activating it without destroying your current life? That's something else entirely. And that's exactly what we need to talk about next. I'm going to show you the exact 3-step process to unlock your inheritance safely, including the one mistake that 90% of people make that turns this gift into a burden. Plus, I'm going to tell you the complete story of Maria, the woman whose grandfather left her a school he never finished building. What I didn't tell you yet is what happened when she tried to complete it, and why she almost gave up entirely. Her story will show you exactly how to navigate the obstacles that are coming, because they are coming. Stay with me, because what happens next separates the people who activate their inheritance from the people who get crushed by it. What to do when you realize you're living someone else's unfinished dream. So now you know the signs. You've felt them. Maybe you're sitting there right now realizing, oh my God, this is real. But here's where most people get stuck. They understand they have an inheritance. They feel it. They recognize it. And then they have absolutely no idea what to do with it. Worse, they do everything wrong and turn this beautiful gift into a burden that crushes them. So let me show you exactly how to activate your inheritance without destroying your life in the process. And I'm going to do that by telling you the complete story of Maria, the one I mentioned earlier. Because what I didn't tell you is what happened when she actually tried to complete her grandfather's dream, and why she almost gave up entirely. Maria was 32, elementary school teacher in a public school in Arizona. Good job, stable life. But she had this recurring dream that wouldn't leave her alone. She'd be standing in a classroom, small, wooden desks that looked hand-carved, sunlight coming through windows in a specific way, the smell of sawdust mixed with children's voices, every single night for 6 months. She told me, I'd wake up crying. Not sad crying, urgent crying. Like I was late for something desperately important and I couldn't remember what. Her husband thought she was stressed. Her therapist thought it was burnout. But Maria knew it was something else. At a family reunion, she mentioned the dream to her aunt, just casually. I keep dreaming about this wooden classroom. Her aunt went completely still. Then she disappeared into the back room and came out with a cardboard box, dust on the lid. Maria had never seen it before. Inside, photographs, letters, blueprints, all belonging to Maria's grandfather, a man who died 10 years before she was born. He'd been building a school, hand-carving desks, one at a time. The village was poor, no money for a real school. So he decided to build it himself. He completed 6 desks before he died of a heart attack at 48. The school was never finished. The village blamed bad luck. Cursed land, some said. The 6 desks sat in storage for decades. Maria looked at the photographs, and there it was, the exact classroom from her dreams, the exact light through the windows, the exact desks. She'd never seen these photos, never heard this story, but somehow her body knew. Now, here's where it gets real. Because Maria didn't immediately feel inspired, she didn't have some beautiful spiritual awakening. Her first emotion was anger. Raw, burning anger. Why didn't anyone tell me? She said. I wasted 10 years teaching in the wrong schools. 10 years feeling lost. And this whole time, the answer was sitting in a box in my aunt's closet. Then came the second emotion, fear, paralyzing fear. What if I try and fail? Then I'm not just failing for me, I'm failing for 2 generations. I'm proving that whatever stopped him will stop me too. She told me she sat in her car in that reunion parking lot for 2 hours, just sitting there. Couldn't drive, couldn't move. This is what nobody tells you about inheritance. The moment you recognize it, you feel the weight of everyone who came before you. And it can crush you if you're not careful. Maria went to therapy. Smart woman. Her therapist asked her one question that changed everything. What if your grandfather knew you'd finish it? What if that's exactly why he stopped at 6 desks? Think about that for a second. What if he wasn't supposed to finish it? What if his job was to start it, to encode the mission into the family line, and your job is to complete it with tools and resources he never had? Maria sat with that for weeks. And then she did something brilliant. She didn't quit her job, didn't start a foundation, didn't do anything dramatic. She volunteered at one small rural school for 6 months. Just 6 months. To see if this felt right, or if it was just trauma and pressure dressed up as purpose. She told me, I needed to know, am I doing this because it's truly mine? Or am I doing it because I feel obligated to a dead man I never met? That's wisdom right there. And here's how she knew it was real. The first day she handed a book to a child sitting at a small wooden table. Not even one of her grandfather's desks, just a similar one. She felt something shift in her chest. She said, I felt him smile. Not saw him. Felt him. Like a warmth that started in my chest and spread through my whole body. She went home that night and slept through the night for the first time in a year. No dreams. Just peace. That's how you know inheritance is real. It doesn't feel like pressure. It feels like relief. So did Maria start a huge foundation and build 50 schools? No. She's built 4 schools in 8 years. She's $180,000 in debt from personal loans and credit cards. Her marriage ended. Her husband didn't understand why she was obsessed with dead people's dreams. There are months when she can't pay herself. Months when she wants to quit. But here's what she told me that I'll never forget. I sleep better now than I ever have. Even on my worst days. Even when I'm stressed about money or exhausted from fundraising. I feel aligned. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. She paused, then said, My grandfather built 6 desks. I've built 4 schools with 120 desks total. That's 20 times what he did. And when I die, maybe my granddaughter will build 40 schools. That's how legacy works. That's the lesson, right there. Inheritance isn't about perfection. It's not about completely finishing what they started. It's about moving the ball forward. Even if it's just 10% further than they got. That's the win. Now, I need to address something important. Because I know half of you watching this are men, and you're sitting there thinking, this all sounds kind of soft, emotional, feminine. And I get it. So let me reframe this for you. Guys, here's what your grandfather had. A mission. He had intel. He had a strategy. But he ran out of time. You have something he didn't have. 70 more years of technology. Different resources. Different advantages. Let me tell you about Robert. 53. Engineer. Lives in Oregon. A few years ago, he was cleaning out his late father's storage unit and found a file cabinet full of patent applications from the 1950s. His grandfather, a machinist, had designed a specialized tool for manufacturing. He'd filed for a patent in 1952. Rejected. Too expensive to produce with the technology available then. Robert looked at the design and thought, this would work now. With modern materials and CNC machining, this would absolutely work. So he reverse engineered it, updated the materials, applied for 3 new patents. Now he has a manufacturing business doing $2 million a year in revenue. He told me, "I'm not honoring some mystical connection. I'm completing a strategic mission using superior resources. My grandfather did the R&D. I'm executing the plan." That's inheritance for men. You're not becoming your grandfather. You're the upgraded version he prayed for. You have the intel he didn't have. Now finish the mission. Ladies, here's what you need to understand. Your grandmother kept secrets to protect you. She lived in a time when women couldn't speak certain truths out loud, but times have changed. And sometimes, your inheritance isn't about completing what she did. It's about doing what she couldn't. Let me tell you about Janet, 49. Stayed in a bad marriage for 15 years. Why? Because that's what women in my family do. We stay. We endure. We make it work. Then she found her grandmother's diary in the attic after her mother died. Her grandmother had left her husband in 1940, lived alone until she died. This was unheard of in that era, shameful even, but she did it anyway. Janet never knew this. Her family had buried the story, called grandmother troubled, never spoke of her choices. When Janet read that diary, she said everything clicked into place. My grandmother paved a path I was too scared to take. She gave me permission from beyond the grave. Janet filed for divorce the next month. She told me, "Sometimes inheritance isn't about repeating what they did. It's about having the courage to break the cycles that hurt them." My grandmother broke the cycle of staying. I'm honoring that by finishing what she started, living as a free woman. That's inheritance for women. Reclaiming the power your ancestors fought for, but couldn't fully claim. Whether you're a man or woman, this isn't about becoming your ancestor. It's about being the upgraded version they prayed for, the one with resources they never had, the one living in times they couldn't imagine. You're not repeating their life. You're completing their mission. Okay, so now you understand what inheritance really is. You've heard the stories, but what do you actually do this week? Because I'm going to give you homework, and I already know what you're thinking. I'm too busy. You watch 2 hours of Netflix every night. My family won't talk. You haven't asked the right questions yet. It's too late. You're literally watching this video right now. It's not too late. So here are 4 steps. Do them in order. Don't skip ahead. Step 1. The interview, scripted. This week, not next month, this week, you're going to call the oldest person in your family, and you're going to use these exact words. Write them down. Hey, name. I'm trying to understand our family better. Can I ask you something no one's ever really asked before? They'll say yes. People love being asked. Then you say, what did grandfather's name want to do that he never got to do? Not, what did he do? Not, what was he like? What did he want to do that he never finished? This is the key. Most people ask about accomplishments. You're asking about the unfinished business. That's where inheritance lives. Write down everything they tell you. Don't judge it. Don't analyze it yet. Just listen and write. Step 2. The pattern journal. Specific. Get a notebook. Physical paper, not your phone. There's something about handwriting that accesses different parts of your brain. Every night, for 7 days before bed, fill in these 3 columns. Column 1. Things I'm good at that no one taught me. Column 2. Places or times when I feel most like myself. Column 3. What I'd do if I had 5 years and unlimited money. Just 5 minutes. That's it. Don't overthink it. Write whatever comes to mind, even if it seems random. On day 8, look for overlaps between the 3 columns. Where they intersect, that's your inheritance speaking. Step 3, the test run, low risk. Now here's the most important part. Don't quit your job. Don't sell your house. Don't do anything dramatic yet. Take the smallest possible step toward the pattern you found. If you discovered your grandfather was a painter and you've always been drawn to art, buy a $12 watercolor set. Paint one thing this weekend. If it feels like relief when you're doing it, keep going. If it feels forced, like you're trying to convince yourself, it's not your inheritance. It's someone else's expectation. Maria didn't quit teaching immediately. She volunteered at one school for 6 months first. Robert didn't quit his engineering job to pursue his grandfather's patent. He worked on it nights and weekends for 2 years. Test it, slowly, carefully. Real inheritance reveals itself through peace, not pressure. Step 4, the legacy letter, forward-facing. Here's the step that changes everything. Once you've identified your inheritance and tested it, even if you're just beginning, I want you to write a letter. Not to your grandfather, to your grandchild, real or imagined. It doesn't matter if you have kids or not. Write to the person who will come after you. Tell them 3 things. First, what you discovered about your grandfather. What he wanted but couldn't finish. Second, what you're completing, even if you're just starting, even if you've only taken one small step. Third, and this is critical, what you're starting that they'll complete, what you're encoding into the lineage for them. Seal it, date it, put it somewhere safe, open it in 5 years, and see how far you've come. Here's why this matters. You're not just receiving an inheritance. You're passing one forward. That's how lineage works. You're not the end of the line. You're the middle of a conversation. Your grandfather planted seeds. You're growing the tree. Your grandchild will harvest the fruit. When you understand that, when you really feel it, the pressure lifts. You don't have to finish everything. You just have to move it forward. Now, I know some of you are sitting there with big questions, real concerns. So let me address the 3 most common ones directly, because if I don't, you'll use them as excuses to not even start. Objection number 1. But my grandfather was abusive. I hear this one a lot, and it's valid. What if your grandfather was violent, an alcoholic, abandoned the family? Here's what you need to understand. Then your inheritance is breaking the cycle. Let me tell you about Tom. He's 58 now, attorney in Boston. His grandfather was a violent alcoholic, beat his wife, terrified his children, died alone, and bitter. Tom struggled with anger his whole life, explosive temper, almost lost his family multiple times. At 40, he finally went to therapy, 3 years of hard work. One day, his therapist said something that changed his perspective. Tom, you're healing the wound your grandfather couldn't. That's your inheritance, not his violence, his unhealed pain. And you're the one strong enough to end it. Tom's been sober from alcohol for 18 years. He's never raised his hand to his kids. He's broken the pattern. He told me, I used to think inheritance meant repeating what they did. Now I know it means healing what they couldn't. Your job isn't to honor the man if he was terrible. Your job is to heal the pattern, to be the one who says, this stops with me. That's completion too. That's sacred work. Objection number 2, but I'm adopted. Second big question, what if you're adopted? What if you don't know your biological lineage? Here's the truth. Your biological lineage is DNA. Your chosen lineage is even stronger. Let me tell you about Angela. She's 44, adopted from South Korea when she was 3 months old. She grew up in Wisconsin with a white family. Never knew her birth parents. Always felt disconnected. For years, she thought inheritance didn't apply to her. Then her adoptive grandfather, the man who taught her to work with her hands, who spent every Saturday with her in his wood shop, died when she was 30. She inherited his tools. And something clicked. She started teaching woodworking to other adoptees, kids who felt disconnected like she did, giving them the same gift he gave her, something solid to create with their hands. She told me, blood doesn't make legacy. Choice does. He chose me. I chose to continue what he loved. That's inheritance. If you're adopted, your inheritance is the people who chose you, the ones who showed up, the ones who taught you how to be human. Honor them. That's real lineage. Objection number 3. But I don't have family records. Third question, what if you don't have photos? No letters? No one left to ask? Then you're the one who starts the record. Listen to me carefully. Someone in your family tree 200 years ago didn't have records either. They were the first. You can be that person. Stop thinking about what you missed. Start thinking about what you're creating for the generation that comes next. Document your life. Write down your struggles, your dreams, what you tried but couldn't finish. Because 60 years from now, someone who shares your blood is going to find what you wrote, and they're going to complete it. You're not just receiving an inheritance. You're creating one. That's the shift. That's the power. The dark warning. What I wish someone told me. Okay, before we go any further, I need to tell you something that might save you years of pain. Something that no one talks about in the spiritual community because it's not inspiring. But it's critical. This inheritance work can become an escape. And if you're not careful, it will destroy your real life while you're chasing a dead person's dream. Here's what I mean. If you're using finding your grandfather's dream as a way to avoid your marriage, your health, your actual responsibilities, stop right now. If you're spending more time researching your family tree than being present with your children, stop. If people close to you are worried about you, expressing concern, and you're dismissing them as not understanding, stop. Here are the red flags. Answer these honestly. Are you spending more hours per week researching the past than living in your present? Have multiple people close to you expressed concern about your obsession? Does thinking about your inheritance feel like pressure and burden instead of peace and relief? Are you going into debt, damaging relationships, or neglecting your health for this? If you answered yes to any of these, you're not activating inheritance. You're running away from your life. Real inheritance feels like a tailwind. It makes your life easier, clearer, more aligned. If you feel heavier after discovering your lineage, if you feel crushed by obligation, you're carrying trauma, not legacy. And that's when you need a therapist, not a genealogy website. Here's the permission you might need to hear. It's okay to say, I honor what my grandfather did, but this path isn't mine. It's okay to acknowledge the inheritance and choose not to activate it. Inheritance is an invitation, never an obligation. If it doesn't bring you peace, let it go. So here's the truth I wish someone had told me when I was younger. The truth that will change everything if you really let it in. You are not living your own life. And before you get defensive, that's not a bad thing. You're living the continuation of a conversation that started before you were born. Every time you choose courage over fear, you're answering your grandfather's fear. Every time you speak a truth that needed to be said, you're completing your grandmother's silence. Every time you create something, build something, love something, You're building on the foundation they poured in secret, hoping someone would finish it. And here's what most people never realize. 60 years from now, someone who looks like you is going to find this video. They're going to study you. Try to understand what you wanted but couldn't finish. They're going to see your choices, your courage, your failures, your quiet persistence, and they're going to ask themselves, what was my great-grandmother trying to tell me? What did she start that I'm meant to complete? What do you want them to find? What do you want them to know about you? What conversation do you want to start that they'll finish? Your grandfather didn't fail. He planted seeds in soil. He knew he'd never see bloom. You're the harvest. Now go complete what they started, and start what your grandchildren will complete. If this message found you at exactly the right time, if you feel that confirmation rising in your chest right now, do 3 things. First, type 999 in the comments. That's your sacred yes, your agreement with heaven that you're ready. Second, comment with one skill you have that no one taught you, just one. Let's see the patterns emerge. Let's see the inheritance showing up in real time. Third, subscribe to this channel, because the messages for the chosen ones aren't finished. What's coming next will show you how to protect your inheritance from the people who will try to stop you, and they will try to stop you. Your grandfather faced them. You're going to face them too, but you're going to win, because you have something he didn't have. You have this message. You have the map. Now go. Complete what was started.